we've got the courage.
Thank you. Ladies, I give you Christa.
Let me catch my breath. How was that? I'm telling you that African drums just get into your soul. And it really always brings me back to, as leaders, we have a certain idea in our heads about who we are. If I have to walk around and ask you, but do you know who you are? Do you have a feeling of who you are? And then, when we go to our teams, when we go and ask people that we work with, they might not have the same picture about you and what you've had. Now, if I have to walk in today into your team and ask your team, what is it like working with you when you're under pressure? Not when you're having a good day, not when you're having a good intention, when you're under pressure. What would they say? And I want you for a moment to just sit back and really reflect. What would they say? Would they say something like it's safe? Or is it, be careful? Would they say something of, it's caring, or it's controlling? Would they say something like, this person is decisive or unpredictable? So let's think about that, because people do not interact with you or respond to you from your intention. They behave and react based on their experience of your behavior. So let's make it, for a moment, just turn to anybody around you. And you don't have to open up everything, but just turn and say one word around the table. And then we'll get some words. What are the words? When people have to answer, and when you're not in the room, what is that one word that they will describe? We have a certain idea about what our intention is, even when we're under pressure. But they experience us differently. And that is the gap. When that gap shows up, the gap between your intention and the impact that you have, that gap starts slowing your team down. Because what they're starting to do is they're starting to try and manage you, manage your mood, manage what is going on, and they stop focusing on their work. Connection is not built with intention. Connection is built on the way people experience us. So in a workplace, and I want you to think, even if you are not only thinking in workplace, because relationships are work, everywhere we go, we are in relationships. So it's so important for us to realize, is there a gap between what I'm intending and how people are experiencing us? And if we're not going to close that gap, execution starts leaking. And we all know what happens. Performance starts leaking, execution starts leaking, profits goes down. The quality of the work we put out goes down. And then we are in a slippery slope. Now, what I'm talking about here is not for me just theory. I didn't learn it in textbooks. I've experienced this. And I was privileged to, from a very young girl, to be curious about why people do what they do and how to assist them to get things in their relationships in a better place. Now, I was really privileged to have had parents that really nurtured that in me. I think my soul chose well. I had a father that was a reverend and a mother a social worker. So that was their thing. Relationships, people, interactions, and they always giggled at school because there was at one stage they said, you know what, go speak to Christa, and you know what, I was there paid in cookies. Because what they did is they would run to me and say, just help me, what must I do? Then I would run to my mother and ask her, and then I would go back. And what I didn't realize then, but I do realize now, is I was trying to close the gap. And my mother used to say to me, because I was also quite an introvert, kept a lot of things to myself, and my mom used to say to me, make yourself known. And those words stuck with me. That's where my journey actually started. Because I had to realize that when I think and how people perceive me, how they experience me, it's not always the same thing. And I'm very grateful for that journey. So in the years growing up and then went and I studied and I worked with individuals, teams, in organizations, in leaderships, and that's what I brought in there. Understanding where's the gap. And we have to identify, and I really appreciate everyone's honesty here. Because if we are not going to start with self-awareness first, realizing what am I bringing in, what am I modeling, we are having leakage. Leakage is spillages. And in a business, those are hidden costs. And we need to start addressing that. And there's urgency about that. With what's happening globally, what's happening on all levels, with AI coming in, we don't actually have an excuse anymore. It's time for us to really stop, have the end goal in mind, and ask yourself, how can we start closing the gaps? How can we start minimizing the leakages? Those things that's not always that visible. Now, from a very high emotional hype, I've brought this whole room to a complete quietness. And that's where Lydia's going to come in. So to bring the next level in, because it's so, if we do not keep the momentum going, we need to be serious, but we need to also be mindful and have our energy. So thank you for the moment that I had to just take you through this simple exercise. And I want to leave you with this. Where are the gaps that you can identify just being self? Thank you, Bruce.
Thank you, Christa.